right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome to the Monday night live stream. How's everybody doing in here? What's going on, Miss Sharon? Good to see you in here. That's right, enjoying the music while you wait. There we go. We're getting into good vibes. Getting the good vibes to start off the Monday evening. Hold on a second. Let me go live on Instagram. There we go. All right. We got the YouTube stream going. We got the Instagram stream going. All right. What's going on? Where's everybody at? Put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly. If my sound is good, I made some adjustments so that I could come across a little bit louder on the audio. So put a 1 in the chat. Let me know if I'm coming through clearly. There we go. All right. Miss D, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Welcome back. Thank you for addressing this topic. Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a complicated topic, so I'm going to try to be as concise as I can. Look at that. We got the 1s popping up in the chat. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. G. Ellis, what's going on? Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you in here. Much appreciated. We got the 1s popping in. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. Tuning in from Raleigh. Mango Garden. Hey, my biggest issue with eating vegan and more raw vegan is the volume of food I'm eating. It's making me have bad acid reflux. Well, we gotta see what you're eating, right? Because a lot of the times people come to me with acid reflux, and we have more of a mostly raw diet, and that really helps out with acid reflux. I've had people like completely get rid of acid reflux. So that's quite interesting that you'd say that. Before we get started, and by the way, I'm going to be talking about a lot of complicated things tonight, but if you want to book a call with me to more directly address your issues in particular, there's a link in the description to do that. Okay. So there's a link in the description where you can book a call with me. You can sign up for a custom diet plan, or you can sign up for a one-on-one personalized coaching, right? So I have that as well. And there's also a link to join my free newsletter. So all of that is in the link in the description. All right. What's up, Maine? What's going on? Good to see you in here. Welcome back. My man, Andrew, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Yes, sir. Welcome to the tribe, by the way. Looking forward to this one. Plant-based wife, what's going on? Good to see you. Welcome back to the stream. Let's see. No stomach acid. Raw is difficult to digest. Actually, when you have low stomach acid, raw is a bit easier to digest. So it depends on what you're eating. I think if you take more of the fruitarian route, you don't really... That's really ideal for people with low stomach acid, actually. And I'll get into that tonight. That's right, everybody. Folks, like the stream. If you like the stream, hit the like button. All right, let's get these likes up. Big shout out to everybody who smashed up that like button tonight. Big shout out to y'all. That's right, D coming through. So yeah, the gut health issue thing is a relatively complicated issue because it's a very individualized thing, right? It's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. There are foods, there will be a little bit of trial and error, and your trial and error, well, I would say it like this. Trial and error, the more variety you have in your diet plan and the more normalized you try to eat, the more trial and error there's going to be, right? So I'm going to get into that as far as like more of a conservative approach to fixing your gut health issues versus a more strict approach to fixing your gut health issues, right? So I'm going to talk about the differences between those, right? And a lot of that is based on like a little bit of a risk assessment, right? How much risk do you want to take on with your issue? And then also when you're putting together your diet plan or trying to fix your gut health issues are going to preclude you from doing other things, right? So for example, if you have an ambitious weight loss goal, you're going to be fairly limited in that endeavor based on whatever your gut health issues are, because there's going to be limitations to what and how much you could eat, right? So I'm going to get into that as well. This is right on time. I'm in the process of changing my eating habits. There we go. Big shout out to you. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. My man Harold. All right. Do we got everybody in here? We still got more folks funneling in here. Oh, by the way, before I get started, I wanted to show off. I am sprouting lentils. Okay. And I am sprouting lentils particularly where sprouted lentils is something that you can add to like salads and things like that for some extra magnesium, zinc, copper, iron, prebiotic fibers, things like that. And sprouted foods typically are easier on the digestive system. So I'm going to get into like foods to eat and that kind of thing. In the sprouting, it's a bit of a time-intensive process, right? I mean, like for this, you got to sprout this over a period of several days. And, you got to rinse and soak, right? And then leave it overnight and then allow it to drain out. So once you see the sprouts, then you drain it out. I'm going to get into the whole sprouting process as well, if you want to sprout things. The last thing I sprouted was quinoa, and that went pretty well. The quinoa, those sprouts, it's exciting when you sprout the quinoa. You see, those little tails and how long they get, right? And then the quinoa just turns into like a whole like vegetable, really, like these little beads, and then they almost resemble like a leafy green almost, right? If you sprout them for long enough, it's pretty awesome. And that's very good to put in like raw salads and things like that. But yeah, keep them in the fridge, airtight, and just be mindful of the fact that they don't last too long. Right? So I'm going to get into all of that. Yeah, I got a good bit of things to cover today because it's a bit of a broad topic. But anyways, let me get into it. Candida, SIBO, Crohn's, colitis, diverticulitis, acid reflux, low stomach acid. All of these issues are very complex issues that can be fixed with a lot of the same kind of similar foods. Y'all hear me bang on about fruits, right? How beneficial a raw or high raw vegan diet is for fixing gut health issues. But your approaches that you take to each gut health issue is going to be a bit different, right? So your approach to SIBO may be a bit different than your approach to colitis or something like that. Crohn's, it might be a bit different from Candida or something like that, right? And then also, you have to think about what your goals are. So typically at any given point in time, you have about 2 to 3 goals that you're trying to achieve as far as your diet plan is concerned, right? You're trying to lose weight or you're trying to gain weight. You're trying to build muscle mass, right? You're trying to gain strength with your training and things like that. And then you're trying to eat in a way where you can heal your gut or just have food be more enjoyable, because eating generally is painful, right? If you have a compromised gut, the number one priority is improving your gut health as much as possible. You don't want to have your gut just be limited to whatever foods are the most tolerable. What you want to do is you want to improve the gut microbiome, your stomach and intestinal lining. You want to balance your gut flora. You want to improve and balance out your acid levels in your stomach, right, and in your intestines, right? And to be able to clearly identify what your issue is, right? Now, I can't diagnose anybody. You would have to go to a doctor to actually get a diagnosis. Typically, what people do is they take their diagnosis to me, and then I provide solutions to their issues, right? I generally start off with a more conservative route. So it's more high raw. And then certain foods we respond well to, certain foods we really don't, and those foods you can remove and place with other things. I'm going to pick a random thing to start with. I put Candida in the title when I talked about this, so that's where I'm going to start. So you can have a fungal infection in your gut, right? You can have this Candida overgrowth. It can cause your breath to smell bad. You can wake up with excessive plaque buildup on your tongue. You can experience acid reflux, bloating, gas, all types of gnarliness, right? It can be to a point where you may even experience just body odor, like intense body odor in general, right? That might be an issue for you as well, depending on how bad the issue is. If it's bad enough, it can even show up on your skin, right? Where you may break out in like hives and different things like this, right? That might be an issue as well. So one thing that's very beneficial to do is removing any industrialized processed foods. Okay? Processed foods. I'm not talking about like things that you put on food, like seasonings and things like that. It's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like breads, right? You may want to avoid bread. You may want to avoid rice, like white rice without the hull on it. You may want to avoid really starchy foods. There is a caveat and an exception for that, but it depends on what you put on those starchy foods. But for the most part, you want your diet to be made up of simple, hydrating foods, predominantly made up of water-rich carbohydrates, right? This is where your fruits and stuff come in. Now, your most strict approach would be a fruitarian style way of eating, where your primary food choices are going to be things like watermelon, cantaloupe, pineapple. It may even be things like grapefruit, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, kiwis, right? Things of this nature. You want to eat foods like that. Apples, pears, these fiber-rich, water-rich foods that are easy for the human gut to digest for the most part. There are some caveats though. So for example, you may be lacking a particular type of gut flora, type of bacterial strain in your gut that allows you to be able to easily digest that food, right? So you can have two people with the same affliction, but one of them do very well with a certain food, like let's say apples, and the other one doesn't. Right? Now, in particular, when it comes to things like the gas and the bloating and whatnot, for some of us, our gut may be so bad that regardless of what you eat, you may experience a little bit of gas and bloating. Right? That's a pretty extreme case. And the issue, not only does the issue implicate your gut, but also implicates things like insulin sensitivity, right? The health of your liver and your kidneys. And that's often the case. Usually when people have gut health issues, it's just a matter of time before you develop some sort of complications in your liver and your kidneys. At the root of it, with the foods that I named, like, oh, how am I picking these different fruits and whatnot? Well, the fruits that I'm picking are foods that are going to be alkalizing to the human body. These are foods that optimize oxygenation and hydration of your body. Foods that are oxygenating and hydrating to your body, they raise your alkaline level in your body. Things like Candida or harmful bacteria, they thrive in an acidic environment, right? So when you're consuming dairy and meat and fish and pork and things like this, processed foods, These are acid forming foods, and they generate a lot of variety of different types of acids. So, for example, let's take ammonia. Ammonia is a waste product, right? When you consume protein-rich foods, as you consume protein, your body creates more ammonia as a byproduct of protein digestion, right? When you think of ammonia, think of like cat piss or like a cat's breath. It's real strong. It's got that sour kind of feeling, right? Not feeling, but a smell. Or think of like and this isn't a clean term that I'm about to use, but it very well illustrates. Think about like a bum piss, right? Think about that. How repulsive that smell is. That's excessive levels of ammonia, right? Or at least partially so. And your body primarily excretes that ammonia through your sweat and your urine, primarily through your urine. This does a lot of work on your kidneys, right? You go through that long enough, you really wear out your kidneys, right? You also wear out your liver as well, because your liver has to offset the acidity, and your liver is largely responsible for that ammonia production, right? It's not centralized in your liver, but it is a significant player in ammonia synthesis, right? The creation of ammonia. Then you've got uric acid, right? So as you consume protein and you consume fat, mainly saturated fat, your body increases uric acid. So your uric acid levels will rise. So ammonia rises, uric acid rises, and then that can result in other issues like edema, right? Bloating of the hands, feet, lower legs, swelling, that kind of thing, as well as bloating in the extension or having a distended belly, a gassy, bloated, liquidy belly. But it'll feel like it's a lot of air and water in your belly, right? And uric acid plays a role in that. And of course, your kidneys then have to filter out that acid over time as well. So your liver and your kidneys really take a beating as a result. And as your liver and your kidneys start to go through more inflammation, gradually the acidity that accumulates in your body starts really giving your body a run for its money. And that really drives an environment that allows the growth of things like Candida and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, for example, SIBO. So that's really what happens, right? A lot of the things that kill bacteria or harmful bacteria also kill things like Candida or fungal overgrowth in your gut. So the approach is two-pronged. Well, actually, no, it's more three. Yeah, it's three. So what you want to do is you want to make your gut inhospitable to the growth and spread of Candida and bacteria, right? And in order to make it inhospitable, you eat an alkalizing diet and live an alkalizing lifestyle. That's number one. That's not going to work in a vacuum. It requires other things as well, right? But that's one. Number two, you create a mechanism that binds to harmful substances in your body, like those mycotoxins from the fungus and the bacteria, right? And you get something like fiber. And fiber, there's two different types of fiber primarily, soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. Both act as binding agents, right? Soluble fiber, what it does is it creates a coating, like a gelatinous coating, right, to your stomach lining and your intestines. And that is used to regulate and act as a buffer between the tissues that make up your gut lining and acid. Okay. It also controls blood sugar entering your bloodstream and all of that type of stuff. So it creates a time release mechanism. So fiber is a really big deal for that, soluble fiber in particular. And then you got your insoluble fiber that doesn't dissolve in water, right? But it expands and moves through your entire digestive process, right? Moves through your entire digestive tract. And as it expands and moves through, it acts as a binding agent where it binds to harmful substances as it moves through. So it acts as a cleaning agent, right? Purging out harmful substances, chemicals, heavy metals, reactive oxygen species, right? All these different types of things that basically cause oxidative stress in your body and drive up inflammation. So fiber helps to reduce inflammation by getting rid of these toxins and pulling them out through your fecal matter. Right? It's like a broom or a mop or a broom mop. A brop. I don't know if I want to go with brop. I don't know. All right. So that's 2. Oh, and actually also the fiber feeds good gut bacteria, right? So the fiber is also referred to as a prebiotic. Prebiotic implies a food source for probiotics, which is your beneficial gut flora. So prebiotics feed probiotics. Probiotics produce postbiotics, which has all kinds of medicinal and positive hormonal effects, right? And those postbiotics also help to alkalize your body as well. So that can be postbiotics like vitamin K2, that can be folate, B12, right? This type of thing. And that's 2. Then number 3 is having herbs and spices in your diet that are antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. These things also kill parasites as well, right? Because parasites generally don't like these things. And also, if you have parasites, you alkalize your gut, or you're dumping these alkalizing substances into your gut, especially with those herbs and spices and things like that. It creates an inhospitable environment for harmful substances. And they die off, and then they come out in your fecal matter. They get dragged out. So a few of my favorites would be things like garlic, ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, parsley, basil, oregano, sativa nigella, or black seed, or you may see it as a seasoning in the grocery store called cumin. So that's a few, right? Cumin you can put in your salads and your foods, things like that. So you can do the same thing with garlic. You can go off with the garlic, right? Black pepper, onion powder, etc. Parsley, all kind of dried parsley flakes or fresh parsley or basil, oregano, whatever you want to do, depending on what kind of dish you're making. Turmeric, you can also season your food with turmeric, curry, things like that. All of those things are highly medicinal because they kill off that harmful fungal and bacterial growth, right? And viruses and things like that. Prevents viruses from replicating. And that also creates an inhospitable environment for these things to fester in your gut. And then also, you can also consume these herbs and spices through teas, right? Having these things in the form of a tea. So I'm a big fan of ginger tea, cinnamon tea, what else? Turmeric tea, right? Big fan of these things. Also, cayenne pepper. Now, it depends. Some people, they got some issues. Like, let's say, if you're dealing with acid reflux, then you don't want to put spices in there like cayenne pepper. You don't want to do that. And you probably don't really want to use too much cumin. Maybe like a pinch or two, but not more than that. Because that can also cause an increase in acid reflux that you start to feel in your lower esophagus. It's a terrible feeling. I used to get acid reflux before I was vegan from time to time. I vaguely remember that feeling. I don't really get it anymore, though. Right? So, let's say you have things like your berries, your blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, cranberries. I'm actually a big fan of strawberries because they're really high in the fiber, really rich in vitamin C, which is a big deal for your kidney health. If you want to improve kidney function, increase the amount of vitamin C in your diet. If you want to reduce uric acid, increase the amount of vitamin C in your diet. Right? If you want to bring down that ammonia, increase the amount of vitamin C in your diet. Strawberries is a really good way to do it. Kiwis is another. Blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, cranberries. Right? So drinking cranberry juice, like that bitter, straight up cranberry juice. Big deal. Cherries. Cherries is another one. Cherry juice. These are things that will definitely kill, Candida and small intestinal bacteria. Let me just say SIBO for short. I don't have to say the whole thing. So those juices are a big deal. And then you get your bitter leafy greens. So like, let's say you do like a fruit bowl. This is one of my favorites. You probably heard me mention this before. You have a mixed bowl of strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, that kind of thing. You probably do like a good 16 to 24 ounces of berries. And you do about 4 cups of tender leafy greens, right? Your arugula, watercress, kale, right? That type of thing, spring mix, spinach, all types of varieties of spinach, that kind of thing, right? Mustard greens. What else? Chives. I don't talk about chives enough. Chives are actually amazing. What else? There's another one that I'm forgetting to mention. It's not chives, it's something else. Put some good greens in the chat that I don't mention enough. There's one that I'm missing in particular. It's driving me nuts that I don't remember. They look like beet greens. What are they called? And anyways, it'll probably come back to me later. But anyways, damn, I really can't think of it. All right. Well, in any case, chopping up these greens and having them in that big bowl. And if y'all been following me for a while, y'all remember Philip, right? That big salad bowl, Philip. And I would fill up the bottom of the bowl with the greens, and then I would add the fruits and whatnot on top. Something like that. Squeeze some lime juice on top, right? Because guess what? That Candida and SIBO and parasites and all of that, they don't like lime juice. They do not like lemon juice. And interestingly enough, lemon juice and lime juice, very good for your gut health. Okay, very good for your gut health. Good for your kidneys and all of that. Phenomenal. And then you can sprinkle some sea salt on there a little bit, right? Nobody sprinkles sea salt on things like this, right? This looks ridiculous. Like you just use your whole hand, just sprinkle. All right, I'm playing too much. So things like that. So you could fancy it up a little bit. Okay. You don't got to do too much because it's already a fruit bowl, but the squeezed lime and the sea salt, that's enough. If you want to get real cute, maybe you sprinkle some coconut sugar in there. Right? Celery, well, celery's not the thing I'm thinking of. You are right though. Celery is actually phenomenal, especially for your kidney health. Celery is really, really good for your kidney health. Chard, Swiss chard. There we go. Somebody put it in the chat. There we go. Dandelion greens. That's another one. Turnips. Raw turnips is kind of rough. I don't know if I would do raw turnips. I don't think I would do that. But yes, dandelion greens, Swiss chard, red chard, true, and celery. There y'all go. Big shout out to y'all in the chat. I knew it right when I saw it. I said, yes, there we go. Watercress. Yeah, I mentioned watercress. I don't see watercress that much in the store. I don't see it as much as I should. But yeah, that watercress, that's a big deal. Broccoli leaves. Broccoli leaves. You mean broccoli, or is broccoli leaves? Is broccoli leaves a different thing? I don't know. I might be a little bit. Pardon my broccoli ignorance. Bok choy, true. Bok choy is kind of a tender leafy green. It kind of is. It fits in there. I would eat raw baby bok choy. That's a good one. So yeah, so you can mix all kind of things. You could do like 2 cups of a certain type of green and 2 cups of another, right? And that would be good for like 1 meal. And then another meal after that, let's say you could do like 4 small like Fuji apples or Pink Lady apples or Gala apples or something like that. And you just have a bunch of apples. Apples are actually really, really good for your digestive health, really good for your gut. Apples are actually amazing. Apples are a good source of malic acid, vitamin C. The apple pectin is really beneficial for your gut health. It's an alkalizing food. It's a good source of boron. People sleep on apples. Apples are a big deal. So yeah, apples, right? And of course you could do that lime juice on there or that lemon juice in there. You can put like baby spinach and the Swiss chard and all that type of stuff, right? You can put all of that in there. And basically have those fruit bowls with the salads, things like that. So like, let's say your first meal is a mono fruit meal. It could be a whole pineapple. Like I ate a whole pineapple today. Oh, it was amazing. And now I gotta go get a couple more pineapples. But yeah, you can do like 3 or 4 pounds of watermelon in the morning, or you can do a whole cantaloupe, which is typically like around 3 pounds, maybe 3.5. Or a honeydew. Honeydews sometimes are a bit larger. And pineapple. Pineapple's really good for your gut as well, right? Pineapple is very beneficial for your gut. Something that really aids in digestion from pineapples is bromelain. Right? So you want to get some of that in your diet as well. The watermelon is extremely big. First of all, watermelon is a great way to hydrate your body. It's a great way to eat your water. So yeah, you have that mono fruit meal to start your day. And then you can have like 2 fruit bowls, like these big salad bowls, right? Like I mentioned with the greens. In between those 2 fruit bowls with the greens, that would be like 6 to 8 cups of leafy greens right there with those meals. Now beware, because it is filling, but not necessarily satiating. So you may kind of feel a little full and hungry at the same time, right? If that's the case, one neat trick is to have some tea. Like if you get that hungry feeling, but you're full at the same time, you don't really have to eat more food, but you should probably focus more on hydration, right? So like if you drink the ginger tea, for example, let's say you do ginger tea. I like to do ginger powder, like a half teaspoon of ginger powder in a mug with like 8 to 10 ounces of hot water for tea, and drink that. And that'll calm your gut down. It gets rid of gas, bloating, just overall gut discomfort, stomach pain, cramps. Ginger is really good for that. It's amazing on your gut. It's soothing for your gut, right? So you may want to drink the ginger tea after a meal or so. You can either have it before the meal or after the meal, right? In my experience, it kind of works the same, right? Whether you do it before the meal or after the meal. So there's not really a whole lot of a difference between the two in my experience. And you can do that ginger tea twice a day, or you can do a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger and a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric in the mug. Just mind you, the turmeric though, it can be a little messy, okay? Because it's like yellow dye. So it's very medicinal, but it will stain whatever it comes into contact with. And if you're worried about the staining of your teeth, you may want to go easy on the turmeric, right? So 1 gram, maybe 2 at the most a day is enough. So you may want to implement a tooth whitening regimen also if you're going to be hitting the turmeric. Hitting the turmeric tea, I should say. So then we got the final meal, and this is where the high raw strategy comes into place as opposed to fully raw. With the high raw approach, You can do things like you can make like a soups and stews. And that's where you can implement your things like your broccoli. That's where you can have like your sweet potato, Japanese yams, right? Your chickpeas and your broth. A nice warm, seasoned, well-seasoned, savory broth. Right? That's where it's at. And that's where you can implement your garlic and basil or parsley, those types of things, right? Your cayenne pepper, etc. Chili powder. Chili powder is dope. Chili powder and paprika, actually, is dope. Right? And y'all know how I feel about taco seasoning. I'm a big fan of taco seasoning. Right? And put a hint of cinnamon in there, a little bit of coconut sugar, not a whole lot. It's just supposed to create like a little bit of a taste. So things like that, right? Miso. Let me talk about miso for a little bit. Miso is a probiotic food. Depends on how you get it, though, right? So you got to get it from the refrigerated aisle. Because the miso basically is fermented tofu. Not fermented tofu. Fermented soy. If you have a soy allergy or something like that, then disregard that. But for those of you who don't mind tofu or soybeans or whatever the case is, then miso is great in a broth for a soup. So I'm a big fan of making miso tofu soup, or just miso soup. Put sliced leeks and everything in there. Oh, it's great. So I have this thing that I like to do. Big shout out to D. By the way, big shout out to you for sending me that taco seasoning. That taco seasoning that you sent is rich. You put your foot in that taco seasoning. I was like, yo, I'll pay for this taco seasoning. Send me an invoice. That taco seasoning hits. You did not skimp. That is some homemade, straight up, grassroots taco seasoning. But anyways, that red lentil soup, I like to do this red lentil veggie bouillon. The reason why I like the red lentils in particular, so like for green lentils, right, like this here, and I'm gonna talk about the sprouted lentils. These are green lentils, but the red lentils, they're not as fibrous, so they tend to be a bit easier on people's guts, right? So the red lentils, they cook quick, and you cook them down to make a nice creamy soup. Right, so you cook down the lentils, you put it in the blender, and that's when you add in your parsley or basil, and you add your garlic and your onion powder and your black pepper and your sea salt and all of that. And you make that veggie bouillon, right? That veggie bouillon soup. And you can, and if you want to get cute, you can put in carrots in there or whatever you want to do, different types of greens, cabbage, right? Everything I mentioned are basically all like carbohydrate food sources, right? And I'm saying that for a reason, right? And I'm going to get into why in a second. But yeah, so these foods, these cooked foods, a big advantage of having these types of cooked foods is the seasonings, the herbs, those medicinal herbs and spices that you can really load up that meal with. It's not just for taste. Okay, this stuff is protective. It's medicinal. Medicine never tastes so good. And then you have your tea along with it. Oh, it's absolutely phenomenal. Oh, by the way, another good remedy is peppermint tea. My mom put me onto this actually when I was like a child. You drink peppermint tea if you feel gassy or bloated. And the peppermint, it relaxes your stomach. So if your gut is all spasming out, so you're doing the butt trumpet thing going on, right? And you got all of this gas, and it's just like, and you're just doing that all day. You're just like, oh, I can't, right? Because that's the thing, the expanding and the noise and the spanding and the noise and the smell. It's just chaos, right? So not only does that ginger cut into that, but also the peppermint. That peppermint tea. Fennel tea. Fennel is another one. Fennel tea. Right? Nettle tea. These are a big deal. So those teas, And teas are loaded with all types of antioxidants, right? Your carotenoids and your polyphenols and things like that, right? These things are extraordinary. Moringa, all this type of stuff. It's beautiful. Now, all of this stuff that I just mentioned, these are like safe foods for really fixing your gut health. These are safe foods for your chamomile. That's another one. There you go. Chamomile is a good nighttime tea. It's calming. It's kind of like ashwagandha, but I find ashwagandha to be a bit more potent than chamomile. But I like chamomile. Big shout out to chamomile. So those are the safe foods. Oh, and cucumber. Okay. So fats that are kind of safe for the most part is like avocado. So there's a meal that I really like to make, and it's sliced avocado, like a diced 8-inch cucumber, diced onion, bell pepper, all types of seasonings, leafy greens, things like that. And if your gut can tolerate it, pumpkin seed kernels is pretty safe. When you start adding in things like peanuts or cashews or pistachios, then you might run into problems. Pumpkin seed kernels, for the most part, are pretty safe, for the most part. Sometimes not so much, but for the most part, yeah. I'm curious about something. I probably shouldn't play around with this, but yeah, there we go. Does that look? I feel like that's a little too blue. It's all right. I don't know. What do y'all think? Now I look orange. I look a little too orange. I don't like that. I'm in a playful mood today. I'm curious, like a child. I'm a little childish today. So with fats, people kind of run into issues with fats. If you're running into issues with fats, it's either because you're producing too much stomach acid or you're not producing enough stomach acid. This is kind of like the problem, right? When you're all gassy and bloated, it's because you're not producing enough stomach acid. It's not always the case, but a lot of the times it is. And then, like, if you're producing too much stomach acid, well, then it'll just be like the acid reflux, right? Or the heartburn, or both. So you have things in your gut, right? You have amylase, and that's primarily responsible for breaking down carbohydrates, right? And then you have pepsin and trypsin, which are responsible for breaking down fats and proteins, right? In your stomach and your upper gut. If your pepsin and trypsin is low, chances are you might have some funkiness going on with your liver, right? So you might have had a lot of oxidative stress to your liver and your kidneys. Fat is kind of tricky. Fats can be very acidic. It can be, right? Because of the fatty acids. And as those foods break down and the fatty acids hit your bloodstream, your body has to balance out the acids with more alkaline formation, right? And your kidneys are required to do that. And those digestive enzymes that are produced in your gut offset that acid in the digestive process. But if you're not producing enough stomach acid, you don't really have a buffer to regulate the acid formation as a result of those dietary fats. Right. If you have gallbladder issues, if you have fatty liver issues, fat and protein in your diet is deeply inflammatory. You'll have a bad reaction to that a lot of the times, right? So this is why if you have like a fatty liver or you have kidney disease, it's generally a good idea to reduce your fat intake. Generally. There are some special cases, but for the most part, right, that's the safe bet. So you have a more carbohydrate-rich diet. So when people rave on about like a raw vegan diet, fruitarian diet, 80-10-10, that's why. It's because you're basically relying on your amylase-dominant gut, right, for the carbohydrate breakdown. Now, carbs aren't really the end-all be-all because you do have carbohydrate sources that are very rich in protein. And so as a result, that food can feel like a brick on your stomach, right? So if you eat like a large amount of protein at a time and it just feels like this thing and it just hits, it's like a fist in your gut. Wow! just like a soggy pack of bricks sitting in your stomach. It's just there forever, right? It's this centralized heaviness where you just feel like your stomach is sticking out like a child. You ever see like little babies, toddlers, and like they don't really know how to contract their abdomen, so it's just all hanging out. So they got like this little pooch all the time, this fat baby belly, right? You ever see a baby run around? They got this big old head and this little round belly, right? They got like they got like a dad bod, but like the baby version. It's hilarious because there's no abdominal development yet. It's just hanging out, relaxed, just sticking out. But you can feel like that as an adult if you're having like a lot of protein, like a high protein meal. And it could be like 30 grams of protein would be like the cutoff point. Like any more than 30 grams of protein will just wreck your gut. You'll be like, oh God. You just feel like you got to undo your pants, right? So this is where it would be a good idea to have more of a low protein diet, right? This is where it's a good general guideline is to have your protein intake around 10% of your macros, right? But that's a thing that you should adjust to if you have to. But it depends on how strict you want to be. Generally speaking, you don't want to, you shouldn't try to be as strict as possible. You only need to be as strict as you need to be. So for example, I've had people come to me with gut health issues and, we put a bunch of fruits, leafy greens, things like that in their diet. We put the kasha in their diet. We put some lentils in there. And, we put chickpeas and sweet potato. And like broccoli. It's a pretty conservative approach. Now, typically what happens is people have a poor reaction to the chickpeas and the broccoli. Everything else could be cool. Like them red lentils are like, nobody really has a problem ever with the red lentils. That's a large part of why I use them. The green lentils, though, people are like, ugh, I don't know. But the red lentils, completely fine. But that broccoli, ooh, people are like, oh God, right? And the broccoli make your farts smell bad because broccoli is high in sulfur. Broccoli is actually a very protein-rich vegetable. You can get a lot of protein in your diet from broccoli. Broccoli is also very rich in phosphorus. Right, so that sulfur, that phosphorus, all that fiber, you can just like a whoopee cushion, right? It's just brutal. So you may want to swap out the broccoli for something for some tender leafy greens. Kale is usually safe. Watercress is usually safe. Arugula is usually safe. Spring mix is usually safe. Spinach is usually safe, right? Chard, usually safe, right? These things are usually safe. You can't go wrong with your tender leafy greens. Can't go wrong with those. More cruciferous stuff, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, maybe, kinda. Cabbage is a bit of a mixed bag. So that's just a warning I'm letting you know, right? So if you decide to implement any of these foods in your diet and you're like, I don't know, something's bothering my gut, it's probably those things. People do very well with the kasha. I don't think I've ever really had anybody who had an issue with the kasha. I think maybe one person. I'm a big fan of adding oats to the diet. Oats are actually a really beneficial food. I'm a very big fan of rolled oats. Rolled oats are a phenomenal food. People want to demonize rolled oats or whatever. I'm like, come on, let's not reinvent the wheel. Rolled oats are amazing. But, some people, the rolled oats, it's a bit too much. So you may want to either get rid of the oats or cut the portion size in half. Now, generally rolled oats, a serving size is like a half a cup. To me, a half a cup is like nothing. So I particularly would implement either a cup or a cup and a half. A cup and a half is for more like my big fellas, right? My big boys, right? The 200 plus club, the dudes who are like over 6 feet tall, right? I mean, I do a cup and a half in mine, but that's because I'm greedy. I like to eat large portions. But yeah, if you are doing a whole cup, you may want to cut it down to a half a cup and implement more berries in that meal. So you do a half a cup, and then you add like either hemp seeds or flax seeds. Just a couple tablespoons. Just a couple tablespoons of either hemp seeds or flax seeds. Milled, like milled or ground flax seeds or hulled hemp seeds. Those are generally easier on the gut. Depending on how sensitive your gut is, it may not be able to handle all that fiber, like the husk of the seeds. Chia seeds, though, for the most part, you can't go wrong, but people typically don't like the taste of chia seeds. Right? So it's a thing. Chia pudding, phenomenal for your gut, actually. Now, a big food that I'm also a very big fan of is bananas. Bananas is kind of 50-50. I've had a lot of people come to me with gut health issues, like for instance, Crohn's or colitis, whatever, diverticulitis, acid reflux, and we put them bananas in the plant, and they're like, the bananas are great. I love the bananas. In my bowel movements, I get these girthy, smooth, robust moves. The moves are smooth, right? Because those bananas, I mean, they're loaded with those B vitamins, that beautiful soluble fiber, the potassium, good source of zinc, magnesium, manganese. Bananas are amazing. Those are one of my staple foods, right? If I'm just going in on the fruit, my diet is mostly fruit. That's one of those mono meals, and I'm talking about eating like 6 of them at a time. Them bananas are phenomenal. But if you eat the bananas and then it's just like blah, right? To the point where your belly expands and pushes you away from the desk. Right? If that's an experience that you have, you may want to sub out bananas for something that's a bit more water rich, a bit lower in the glycemic, not glycemic index, but lower in the glycemic load. They're not as dense. Grapes are undefeated. Anybody with gut health issues, I put grapes in their plan, never have a problem. That's a staple food. If you got gut health issues, I think blueberries and grapes and cucumber, those are foods that should be in your plan. Either 2 of those or all 3. Those should be in there for sure. Cucumber is really easy on your gut for the most part. So I'm just talking about like food choice and all that, right? Because, I mean, food choice, you got to know what to eat. Now, I mentioned red lentils and the whole red lentil stew and the red lentil soup thing. And now I want to make a guest appearance of the green lentils, the sprouted green lentils. Now, I got to rinse these when I get off the stream. But essentially, I started soaking these this morning. I'm going to soak them overnight. And what happens is they will sprout and they will grow little tails. They've already ballooned up to like twice their size. Right? I don't know if you can see. Hold on a second. Yeah, you can see there. The water's a little cloudy because I had to rinse them. Right? Now what happens is that as they soak, the gases and whatnot from inside leave. This is the reason why if you soak them, don't leave them in an airtight container. Because all that gas gets trapped inside the jar. And when you open it, it's going to smell real bad. It is not going to smell good. So if you decide to sprout them, do not leave them in an airtight jar. I'm using a sprouting jar, so this has a mesh top. So the water comes through the top when I drain them, and I leave them on a draining rack. So tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm gonna rinse them in the morning, right? With some room temperature water, kind of cool water. And then I'm gonna tip them over and leave them upside down on the drying rack. Drying rack, draining rack, sprouting rack. I forget what it's called. It's a rack, right? So the top part will be facing down on an angle, and the water will gradually drip out of the jar, right? Because you don't want to just keep them soaking and not rinse or drain them out. You got to give them some air, let them breathe, right? So I'm going to sprout these for a few days. And then I'm going to start putting them in salads and things like that, right? So you get a whole bunch of leafy greens, bell peppers, some nutritional yeast, right? Some chili powder, paprika, things like that. Get some seasonings, garlic, mix it all in, right? Do like some little bit of pico, maybe some taco sauce, whatever kind of seasoning I feel like doing, right? Chop up some greens, cucumber, and have those lentils in there. Phenomenal source of magnesium, zinc, protein, all that good stuff, right? Good prebiotic fiber, and it's a lot more digestible that way, right? Because the soaking and the sprouting is a great way to reduce excess phytates and lectins, right? What people like to call anti-nutrients. These are some crazy looking rabbit ears, right? You ever heard that term rabbit ear? You ever heard that? Not rabbit ears. Everybody's heard that term. You ever heard the term anti-nutrients? And they talk about all the scary lectins and phytates, phytic acid, right? If you do have a compromised gut, then that can, and you're gonna, but you want to eat something like green lentils, right? Sprout them, right? I might do like a short video too to show like the sprouting progress of the lentils, so you can see like day by day how they change, and then what I put them in to eat them. So I'll do that as well too. Put it in the comments too if y'all want to see the sprouting progress of the lentils. Now, what else do I want to mention after that? Well, I mentioned kasha. Let's say you want like a more satiating carbohydrate, right? And you want something a bit more cost effective. Because look, eating 16 ounces of berries a day, it can be a bit expensive, right? What's it like? I mean, you can pay like 8 ounces, for like 8 ounces of berries, it could be like, I don't know where you're at, but it could be like $5 or $7. Something crazy, right? Sometimes the price is a little steep. So that's where you would either want to default to the grapes. But I mean, even the grapes sometimes can be kind of expensive, especially if you're shopping organic. So if that's the case, then you may want to get to something a bit more cost effective. So that's when you can default to something like the rolled oats or the kasha. But if the oats are giving you a problem, then you can go over to the kasha. I haven't really had anybody with issues with the kasha yet. And I've been doing this for years, making diet plans for people with gut health issues. And I've had phenomenal progress with people with gut health issues. But people have gut health issues for different reasons. It's not just because of Candida or SIBO or Crohn's or colitis or something like that. It's not really because of that. It's a whole variety of different issues that can cause you to have gut health issues. You could be like, so for example, people battling cancer tend to have gut health issues because especially if you've taken like medications or even like chemo or something, it demolishes your gut microbiome. And then it's like everything you eat, it's terrible, right? So that's when you'd have to be more selective about your foods. If you're in a more extreme situation, I think getting a juicer and juicing is particularly a good route to go, right? You could do your watermelon, cucumber, chard, or any kind of leafy greens. You could do celery juice with apple, ginger, this type of thing. You make red cabbage juice and all of this type of stuff, and you drink these juices. They're a little bitter, but you can add some fruits to them to make them a little sweet, but highly medicinal. And look, if you're battling cancer, the last thing you really care about, well, you care more about living and improving your health than like, you know, oh, I don't want to eat anything that tastes bitter. So you might just have to suck it up at that point. So the juicing, that's a big deal. The juicing, the herbal teas, that's a big deal. If you have a compromised gut, protein smoothies may be a bit problematic on your gut. For some people, it's not. Some people, it can be a bit of an issue, right? So it depends. If you have fitness goals or something like that, or you want to put some protein powder in, you can try it. But yeah, if it doesn't feel good, and you're like, let's back off of that. We got to gradually rebalance your gut so that you can have more of those stomach acids needed to break down the protein. By the way, consistent resistance training also builds your gut microbiome. So this is not particularly related to diet, but training. You ever wonder how people who are like hardcore gym rats can eat the garbage that they do and still maintain good health? Because you can't do that being a regular person and just eat like, because you'll get all kind of obese and wild and crazy. But you'll see like these bodybuilders and whatnot, and they'll eat like a quadruple bacon, double, triple, quadruple burger with the extra cheese, eat a whole pizza, but like crazy stuff, right? And can get away with eating all this type of stuff in one sitting. 6 eggs a day, all this craziness. And they have these crazy protein bars where it's just sulfur coming straight out the booty hole. Bah! Right? Nuking the bathroom. Blowing the place out, right? Shamelessly just going in the public bathrooms and just dropping bombs. Bah! Right? And you got something that foul smelling come out of a human being. How does that not wreak havoc on your body? The training, the way that your body responds to training, like intense resistance training, your body over responds because training is inflammatory. Fatiguing your body, working your body in this high intensity fashion is fatiguing. And your body over responds. It's fatiguing and it's inflammatory, but it's acutely inflammatory. And so what happens is your body responds to this inflammatory, stressed out, catabolic state by ramping up and refortifying your immune system, right? So what happens is you ramp up your stress, adrenaline, all of that type of stuff during the training, and your body over responds hormonally, brings that stress down, right? And then after a training session, you feel relaxed, you feel mellowed out, you feel chilled, you might get a bit of an endorphin rush, you feel good after that workout, right? That's your body over responding to the threat of the training, right? This rigorous activity. Because your body doesn't know that you're doing that on purpose for recreation or health habits. All your body knows is, God damn, it's going down. What the hell's going on, right? Your body doesn't know, like, you go on back squat and you put a couple hundred pounds on your back and you squat down to the ground. Your body's like, oh, something's trying to crush us, right? So your body goes into this state of really pushing back and refortifying your health in the anticipation that you're gonna be re-exposed to this kind of stimulation again. So diet along with your training goes a long way towards improving your gut health. Training alone won't do it, and diet alone also won't do it. It can, but usually doesn't, or it takes forever. So it's a good idea to implement both at the same time if you can, right? So diet, mostly raw, carb dominant, herbal and spiced teas, juicing, right? Bring that protein consumption down. You don't need all of that protein anyway. Your gut can't handle it. Give your kidneys a break, okay? A good goal to have is like, let's say when you go to use the bathroom and you urinate, for the most part throughout the day, your urine comes out fairly clear. It's not dark and bubbly, right? It doesn't look like somebody poured beer into the toilet. If it looks like somebody poured beer into like a Guinness into the toilet, it's a problem. Even if it looks like a Coors Light or whatever, where it's like, it's not brown, but it's kind of yellow, maybe even like a dark yellow, right? For anybody who is familiar with different types of beers, because I don't even know how light or dark Coors Light actually is, to think about it. I just say Coors Light because it's light in the title. So it shouldn't look like you're just dumping beer into the toilet, is what I'm saying. Now also, if you're consuming a lot of fruit and you're like, I'm doing this raw vegan thing and I'm consuming a lot of fruit, really crushing it with the fruit. Be mindful of the fact that your urine, not only should your urine not smell like bum piss or like cat urine. I'm not gonna say bum piss. That's kind of I don't like saying that. And I'm using the word, for people who don't know, I'm using the word bum and homeless are not the same thing. They're not synonymous. But I'm not going to use that term. It's kind of offensive. I feel icky saying it. I'll say cat urine, right? Or like cat feces. Right? Cat urine smells real bad. If you have a cat, you know. Because if you don't tend to that cat litter, that cat will get up in that litter box and tear your whole house up. When you go in somebody's house, you know they have cats. You know they have cats. You can smell it. Right? But also, if your urine smells sweet, there's too much sugar that's coming out. There's too much glucose coming out in your urine. So you may want to tighten your eating window and implement some form of intermittent fasting. So instead of having a 12 or a 10-hour eating window, maybe you want to have an 8 or a 6-hour eating window. So you take like 3 meals and you eat them within like a 6 or an 8-hour time frame. Okay. So doing that helps to offset that issue so that your kidneys don't have to filter out all this. What else did I want to mention? I got this little itinerary in my head of things. There's all kinds of different details in my head. So I've been broadly talking about not just Candida, not just SIBO, not just Crohn's, not just colitis or diverticulitis or any kind of leaky gut or IBS, but this is also related to liver and kidney issues, right? And a lot of people, they have gut health issues because they have liver and kidney issues, or they have liver and kidney issues because they also have gut health issues. They kind of happen in this cascading effect in one direction or another. So having a more alkalizing diet that is carb dominant, predominantly foods, certain foods are easy to on the gut. They don't require a whole lot of work for your gut. I think the last thing I'm going to get into is supplementation, and I think I'll close out with that. Supplementation. You don't need a whole lot of supplements, but some supplements are very beneficial. The most common supplements that I would advise for people is magnesium and vitamin D3. Because a lot of people, they have gut health issues too because they're vitamin D deficient. So supplementing with vitamin D3 and magnesium together, because magnesium is a currency for your body to actually be able to utilize vitamin D. If you're taking the vitamin D by itself, you don't have the adequate amount of magnesium, then your body won't really be able to efficiently use the vitamin D to any meaningful degree. So it's just, you just put a capsule in, it's just going to waste, it's not being used. So vitamin D3 and magnesium, it's a good pair. Now magnesium, typically I suggest taking it in a powder form. Magnesium is mostly, it's a water soluble thing. So you can just drink it straight up in any kind of like drink, really. And I'll talk about like some good ways to use this. So let's say vitamin D3 is good to take like with a meal, and that meal can have some fat in it, whether it be chia seeds or whatever the case is, or avocado or whatever, right? But it's good to take vitamin D3 with a meal, and the fats in the meal assist in the absorption of the vitamin D3, because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. We call it a vitamin. It's not necessarily a vitamin. It's more of a steroidal steroidal hormone, or a hormonal steroid. Steroidal hormone. It's a steroidal hormone. So A, E, D, and K. Generally, these things you want to take with a meal. They're fat soluble. The other vitamins, water soluble. So your B vitamins, your C vitamins, or your B vitamins and your vitamin C, I should say, water soluble. A probiotic supplement. I don't talk about this enough, but actually a probiotic supplement can actually be very beneficial. A really good combination for your gut is to take a probiotic supplement, but also eat probiotic rich foods. So you can have like a cup of sauerkraut or kimchi, right? Or you can have a cup of coconut yogurt on a daily basis. You can take those three and alternate them. Some days you have kimchi, some days you have sauerkraut, Some days you have the coconut yogurt. You can alternate. You can drink kombucha. Kombucha is essentially fermented black tea, right? Just make sure when you eat any of these foods, when you get these foods, get them from the refrigerated aisle. Those are the ones with the probiotic cultures, right? So taking a probiotic is actually a really good way to reduce the gas and the bloating and all the gut complications. The probiotic on itself, though, is nowhere near as effective as your diet is on its own. So a probiotic, it's like you can take a probiotic, but then when you stop, the issues come right back if you don't have the diet undergirding it. Because you have to feed the probiotics that you enter into your system. And you have to have an environment in your gut that is hospitable to those probiotics. So if you got an acidic gut and you're just taking a probiotic, you're not really creating any meaningful change. Reversing something like Candida or SIBO, things like this, it happens from the inside out. We're fixing these issues. It's not like a thing you can take and it's just like, oh, 7 days, boom, gone, consequence free. Doesn't work that way. And I key in on consequence free because you could take an antibiotic, you could, but then you just obliterate your good gut bacteria and then the bad bacteria come right back. Right? The fungal overgrowth comes right back because your good gut bacteria is the thing that battles the bad bacteria and the fungal overgrowth. The overgrowth that happens in the upper gut is a result of the lack of bacteria in the lower gut. There's a battle going on. Good bacteria versus your bad bacteria. There's a zero-sum game, which means more of one group means less of another group. Less good gut bacteria makes room for more bad bacteria. More good gut bacteria shrinks the bad bacteria, right? Both are battling for supremacy. It's a race war in your gut. It's a civil war in your gut. And you gotta have the necessary diet that acts as the fortification and the cavalry for your gut. But a probiotic does help. If you do get a probiotic, you should get one, I think, 60 billion CFU. That's a good amount. Some are like 100 billion, 120 billion. 10 or 20 billion is not really going to cut it. So generally speaking, I would go for at least 60 billion. Okay. Oh yeah, so back to supplements, right? Vitamin D, magnesium, probiotic. Then I would also say taurine. Taurine is another very beneficial supplement to take. Taurine is an amino acid. That amino acid is very effective for these gut health issues because it brings down cortisol, which reduces your stress. Stress management helps to improve your gut health. Anything that improves your sleep quality and lowers your stress will in turn improve your gut health. It's a good contributor. Right? So it's both and. That also aids in things like, fat loss, particularly around the torso. Also, if you have vascular damage, right? If you've got excessive cholesterol, high blood pressure, that taurine is really good for that. By the way, for the magnesium, make sure that the magnesium is chelated. So the top sources of magnesium is going to be magnesium glycinate, magnesium taurate, magnesium threonate, magnesium malate. I typically default to magnesium biglycinate and magnesium malate. Magnesium glycinate is magnesium and glycine combined, right? It's a mineral combined with an amino acid. The amino acid is glycine. and magnesium malate, that is magnesium combined with malic acid. Okay. The malic acid is really good for your digestive health and neurological function. Right? It's good for your nervous system, aids in nervous system recovery, as well as improving your actual intestinal health. Glycine is restorative to your liver and your kidneys. Glycine is also a sleep aid and ramps up the production of serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone, the pleasure hormone, which your body uses to synthesize melatonin in your brain that is released at night when you're exposed to darkness and it's time to take yourself to bed. So glycine and magnesium are a big deal for sleep quality, also a big deal for your gut health, all that stuff. However, you may have an issue. Have I ever had anybody with this issue? You may have a sensitivity to like magnesium or something like that. It may cause you to, like, for example, retain water, maybe. It's very rare, and usually that's only in really extreme cases. Right. But that's usually, I think that's more or less the result of if you're putting too much magnesium in your body at one time. So it's very rare that I've seen people with that reaction, but it is possible. Right. What else do I want to touch on? Liquid chlorophyll. Liquid chlorophyll is a big deal. Liquid chlorophyll is like a detoxifying agent for your gut. Chlorophyll essentially is plant blood. So one thing that I like to do, like first thing in the morning, you wake up, I have 1 tablespoon of liquid chlorophyll, ½ teaspoon of matcha powder, 2 grams of taurine, in like 10 to 12 ounces of cold water. I would drink that first thing in the morning. Oh, it's great. It's great. I love it. I love it. It's phenomenal. Good energy, no jitters and weirdness going on. Really brings the stress down, feels good on your gut. It's good, clean energy and mental focus. And if you're trying to shrink your eating window, it could be a very good idea to implement something like that. That 6 to 8 hour eating window. All right. But that depends on your bedtime, when you get up and all that type of stuff, and when you have your first meal, etc. So let's say you're one of these people, you wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, but you don't have your first meal till like 8 or 9 o'clock or something like that. You can have that drink first thing in the morning. It's a good option. It's a good detoxifier, and it's a good way to hydrate your body. Are there any supplements I want to cover? I think that's pretty much it. I think that covers it. Yeah. That does it. If there's anything else that I got to cover on the topic that I can think of, I think I hit all my points that I wanted to hit. I think that does it. By the way, how do y'all feel about my new background? I'm interested to see what y'all thoughts are in the comments. So liquid chlorophyll is better than spirulina. I don't know if I would say it's better than spirulina. It's different. I think spirulina is a thing that you can implement along with liquid chlorophyll. But the spirulina, it's got a strong taste. Spirulina kind of tastes like seawater, like a fish tank. So you may want to add like some mint, like peppermint, and like maybe a drop of stevia or something to it, right? Kind of offset the fish tank smell. What about chlorella? Yeah, spirulina and chlorella pretty much do the same things. Right, it's basically an algae supplement. The plants with the lights look beautiful. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get another tray in here. Get some more plants in here. I don't want to get too cluttered on the set, so I'm probably not gonna do a whole lot. I ain't gonna do all of that. I like to keep it simple, classy, and clean. I don't want to have too much clutter. I don't want to do that. But yeah, y'all know the brand. I gotta have that nice soft earth tone orange light that resembles the sun, and some beautiful green luscious plants. What about 10? That's right. That's right. I got the green plants and water streaming. That's right. I'm on brand. I'm on brand. Something just came to mind, but I've kept the live up and been in and out of the room. What about coconut kefir on the probiotic front? That could be a good option too. Yeah, absolutely. Let me check in on the folks on Instagram. I had to switch screens on this one. Sea moss. Matter of fact, I probably have to do another video on sea moss. That's one of those things that I haven't gotten around to really getting into yet, is the sea moss. But yeah, the sea moss, I mean, that's a good way to really mineralize your body. It's highly medicinal. So yeah, the sea moss is a big deal. Yeah, the concoction that I said I drink every morning is 1 tablespoon of liquid chlorophyll, a half a teaspoon of matcha powder, and 2 grams, it's like 1 scoop of taurine in 10 to 12 ounces of water. If I could please save this live, you'll be able to rewatch this live stream on my YouTube channel. So yeah, it'll be up. This is a bit off topic, but do you know anything about seedless fruits? I do not trust them. It seems that they are easier to come across though. So basically, yeah, when it comes to like the whole, well, technically there's no such thing as a seedless fruit. All fruits have seeds, but there's 2 different types of seeds. You have mature seeds and immature seeds, right? The immature seeds are like the little white seeds, or like they're kind of like translucent seeds, and then the mature seeds are the more black seeds. When you have more of the immature seeds and less of the black seeds, that's a growing method. It's a natural growing method that they use in order to grow them. It's not GMO or inorganic or anything like that. You could still get organic like watermelon. Actually, I don't think GMO watermelon is even on the market. The GMO foods are like corn and soy predominantly, and then like corn, soy, and like wheat are the main ones. But there's no GMO watermelon. Okay. Yeah, so big shout out to everybody tuning in on Instagram. All right. I'm not going to be able to get around to everybody's questions. There's a lot of questions in here. All right, let's see. Could you provide insight as to why a person would seemingly suddenly have food intolerances and intolerances to foods that aren't always the same ones? That's a gut health issue. So as your gut microbiome diminishes, as far as your beneficial gut bacteria, you may have a difficult time eating certain foods that you didn't used to have a difficulty with. Or you could just be overeating that food and you're kind of developing a sensitivity to it. That's possible also. Where you may have had like a mild food sensitivity to it, but you never really had an effect. And being that you're repetitively eating it, that mild sensitivity is starting to become less mild. So that can be an issue also, right? So that's typically, in my experience, that's what happens, because I've had people with that issue before. But that issue always isn't permanent though. So like those food sensitivities can go away as you nourish and improve your gut microbiome. So yeah, definitely, Heather, big shout out to you for tuning into the stream and asking a solid question. All right, Patrick Young, just to see what would happen, I tried eating only fruit for 2 weeks, and I have to admit, I felt the best I've ever felt since my 20s. Telling you, that all fruit diet too, it'll detox your body. It's a big time detox. Absolutely. The information is golden, so helpful, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate you tuning in. Welcome to the Monday Night Live. Is it normal to have constipation on a juice fast? I'm 33 days, but I also have hypothyroidism. I use enemas daily. Is this okay? The enemas may be causing a dependency. Right, so you're flushing your gut and you have all of this water. You do an enema and you lose a lot of water in the process of that. So you dehydrate your colon, and then that can make room for the dehydration of your colon and therefore constipation. Also, if you're juice fasting, the issue could be like you're not intaking any fiber. And so what's happening is you're not creating enough bulk in your fecal matter. So that can be an issue too. So the lack of water as a result of the consistent enemas, daily enemas is a lot. That's pretty intense. And then the lack of fiber, basically you could just be dehydrating your gut, and you're not putting back the fiber needed to create a smooth move, a smooth, lubricated move. Folks, double tap the stream. Well, no. First of all, for my folks on Instagram, hit the like button, right? Double tap the screen to like the stream. And then for my folks on YouTube, hit the like button, like the stream if you like the stream. And definitely share with anybody who you think this would be valuable for. Do I like the taste? Sprouted lentils taste very chalky to me. I'd like to see how you use them to improve the taste. Yeah, I mean, look, you're not going to eat a whole lot of them at a time because then it might taste like that. Yeah, it's bitter. It's bitter, right? So, I mean, there's other things that you add in along with it. But yeah, I'll show you how I eat it. As far as like the recipes, I'll post a little bit of that. What about frozen berries? Yeah, frozen berries work. Throw those in the blender. So like, it's a really good one to do if you do mango, pineapple, blueberry. That's a good one. Or just mango, blueberry. That's a good one. What would you recommend to get rid of acne? Did I answer this yet or no? But anyways, with acne, it depends on what's causing your acne. It could be a hormonal imbalance. It can be maybe you just got to exfoliate. Maybe you have to have less protein in your diet. Maybe you have a food sensitivity that's causing the acne. There's different things that can be causing acne. So you would have to figure out what the source is out of those different things. So you'd have to assess your diet. How much protein are you having in your diet? What foods do you notice irritate your skin the most? Are you consuming dairy? Take a food sensitivity test. Right, a food sensitivity test will tell you what foods could be potentially causing the issue, and then you also may want to go to an endocrinologist. Right, are you producing excessive levels of estrogen disproportionate to progesterone? So is your progesterone low and your estrogen's really high, and that's what's causing you to have hormonal acne, that kind of thing. Are brown lentils good for sprouting? I believe so. I haven't sprouted brown lentils yet, though. But for the most part, I assume they are. Agnes, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Haven't been on your streams in a while. Remsen, blessings to you for sure. Well, you're welcome back. Good to see you. I said, oh, Agnes is back in the stream. There we go. Big shout out to you. One of the day ones tuning in. I think you've been with me since like the TikTok days. I might jump back on that platform. I tried to upload a video to TikTok, I think like last week, and they muted the video. And it wasn't even like because the music was copyrighted or anything like that. They was just like, oh, the music is too long. I'm like, this is why I don't really mess with this app no more. Like, don't have me post the video and then mute the damn video and whatnot when I got copyright-free music and whatnot. Come on now. Y'all got to get it together. I've been doing 10 banana smoothies and my digestion is beautiful, right? I'm telling you, those bananas, man. Smooth moves smoothies. I like chia seeds with my smoothies. Yeah. I mean, it depends on how many chia seeds you put. But I don't know, but you're a bit more of an advanced human being. You know what I mean? You're a real raw one. She's an enlightened barefoot chia eater. Getting the sunlight, smiling in the sun with no shoes. Where's the no shoe gang? Step outside, take the shoes off, step into the grass. Get rooted into the soil. In the earth. Where I come from, we say earth instead of earth. We say it with an F. Earth. I have a severe case to where I get extremely fatigued all day, especially after eating. It could be a thyroid issue or some real serious insulin resistance. If it's a thyroid issue, it'll look like both. That's a good question. How often should you do a detox and for how long? Maybe once a year, 12 weeks. But it depends on the type of detox and why you're doing it. So I can't really give you a definitive answer on that. It depends on what the goal is. Slippery elm. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one to throw in the teas. Oh man, all right. You see me yawning? That's how I know it's time to give it up. It's time to go to bed. All right, folks. Before I go, all right, let's run it. If you need help, you need personal coaching, you want to book a call with me. We got a full 60 minutes to talk over your issues and go over solutions, foods to eat for your case and things like that. Right? So if you want to book a call with me, link is in the description for that. If you want personalized coaching or a custom diet plan, there's a link in the description for that as well. I'm here to help. I'm very easily accessible. I'm just a regular dude out here just trying to do my part, help as many people as possible. So yeah, if you're serious, you're really ready to revolutionize your health, definitely get into the links in the description of this video and keep tuning in. I do this every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, y'all. So having said that, I'm out of here, and I will catch y'all next Monday. Next Monday. Yeah.